Every evening I'd walk my dog, Max, along the same familiar route that passed by the nearby school. The modern architecture of the school clashed with a bizarre anomaly. An old, dilapidated house, its windows boarded, its secrets locked away beneath layers of wood and neglect. Max would growl, his hackles raised, every time we'd pass, and I'd joke to my girlfriend Sarah that it was haunted. Our neighborhood in South Beach was ridiculously expensive, so it's strange to see this weird house on the furthest corner of the school grounds fenced in. We would walk through the schoolyard and look at it with increasing curiosity every night, imaginations running wild. The eerie silence that wrapped around that old house hinted at mysteries far deeper than forgotten algebra. One evening, we were pretty drunk and a little high as well, walking Max, and curiosity overwhelmed our common sense. We approached the boarded-up house. Looking at the easily climbable fence, I had to give it a try and find what secrets lay imprisoned behind those barricaded windows. Sarah lost her playful mood and tried to talk me out of it, but we finally agreed that I would only peek inside and she would text me if any security came around. As Max whined, his eyes wide and untrusting, I pulled away a loose board. The darkness within was both an invitation and a warning. I pulled away more boards and gave Sarah a thumbs up, don't worry gesture. The first step inside was a betrayal to the modern world outside, a journey into an epic where the echoes of the past breathed amidst the dust motes that danced in the shafts of invading moonlight. The air was thick with the unsung tales of yesteryears. There was a latch on the floor that opened to reveal a set of old wooden steps going down to the basement, so I decided to just take a quick look, using the light from my cell phone. Beneath the rotting floorboards, the true revelation lay. Tunnels that looked to go way beyond the school property, hidden paths into mysteries of the past. Sarah kept calling me, she was freaked out. So was Max. I could hear him whining in the background, so we got out of there and went home. My curiosity was beginning, no more like demanding to see what was down there. After Sarah passed out, I grabbed a flashlight and went back. I wanted to bring my gun just in case, but getting caught with a gun on school property would be doing time, unlike a misdemeanor trespassing charge. I re-entered the house and down the hidden steps, feeling excited and not at all worried about any possible dangers. There were several inches of water covering the ground. Reflections cast by my flashlight painted grotesque artwork upon the water's surface and damp walls. Each step forward was a dance with shadows. Each echoing ripple in the water whispered of unearthed horrors and untold mysteries. The relics of a past unspoken met my gaze. An room leading to other tunnels had some strange object on an altar. The walls had symbols, cryptic, echoing an arcane language of rituals and rites long banished to the forbidden annals of history. This was no ordinary abode, but a sanctum of clandestine gatherings, of moonlit rites and whispered pacts. I glimpsed something moving out of the corner of my eye and nearly had a heart attack. My liquid courage from the night out faded. I really wanted to get the hell out. I slowly headed back towards the stairs, feeling close to panic mode. That was when I heard splashing coming from behind me like footsteps. Full-on pee-pee pants time, I ran away quicker than I thought possible, scrambling out of the old house in a terrified panic. After climbing the fence and sprinting away, I looked back from a safe distance. My heart seized in my stomach and time seemed to stop as I saw the creepy shadowed figure staring at me just outside the house, walking towards the fence in my direction. Blind panic took hold of me again as I sprinted away. I went through other apartments' courtyards and then used the alley to get in my apartment's back entrance, looking at every shadow. All I could think of were horror stories where someone gets followed home. Max instinctively knew how freaked out I was as I locked the door. I was trying to catch my breath, Max whining, when Sarah woke up very hungover and irritated. I told her everything and she just shook her head, looked at me like I was crazy and went back to sleep. We went back after sunrise and the boards I had removed were back like nothing happened. That creeped me out even more. I was a nervous wreck after that, which ended our relationship pretty fast, but who could blame her? I never walked in the direction of that school again, and moved as soon as my lease would allow it. I often wonder what really happened. I guess some splashing noises could be chalked up to my imagination running wild after a night of partying. Nope. I know there's something very bad going on there that I wish I had never seen. Until now, I haven't spoke of this to anyone, but I still feel a sense of dread whenever I'm walking Max at night. I know it's irresponsible sharing this story because it's quite easy to find the only school in South Beach with a fenced-off old house. The truth is, I'm hoping that someone braver than me will go explore those creepy tunnels and share the story with the rest of us. Just be careful. After my time in the Coast Guard, I started my own business with a commercial scuba diving boat that was quickly successful, but filled a more important need personally. I needed the ocean's enigmatic embrace, the unshakable constant in my life. On a beautiful sunny Miami morning, we were heading out to a great diving spot when I spotted a yacht that seemed to be drifting aimlessly, and there was no sign of anyone on board. My Coast Guard instincts still alive and kicking even if I had retired. As I ventured aboard the ghostly vessel, the eerie silence was punctuated by the mournful cries of distant seagulls, creating an uncanny symphony with the creaking of the neglected interior. Not what I expected looking at the fancy exterior. Despite its abandonment, the Elysium told tales of opulence, its hauntingly beautiful artwork echoing narratives of ancient maritime legends, and adorned with relics that whispered of fabled treasures lost in the ocean's abyss. I was not prepared for the discovery of the ship's log, its pages filled with entries until mere days ago, painting tales of serenity. So why the lack of human presence aboard? No signs of struggle, no trauma, as if the crew had vanished into thin air amidst a peaceful sojourn. There was evidence that the log was accurate, food and supplies that were still fresh. This was as creepy as it gets. I looked at the handwritten log again, seeing specific spots they were searching and a GERD marking off misses, looking for something very important. That could be anything from treasure to much more likely drug drops to be picked up later and sunk with weights. I used the radio and called it in, but without thinking, I instinctively kept the written log for myself and deleted the last few locations from the yacht's computer. I have a good sense of morals, but I'm no Boy Scout. I knew exactly what to do since I used to be the guy that would show up and investigate in situations like these. I plunged into a self-inflicted odyssey to unravel the enigma. Nightmares and reality intertwined, the ticking of the mystic compass and haunting maritime ballads, echoes of an abyssal symphony, led me into turmoil trying to decide if I was actually going to take action. My dreams were filled with haunted nights. The artistry aboard the Elysium rendered an ethereal glow under the moon's gaze became cryptic narrators. Every etching, every piece of knotwork was a cryptic puzzle piece, weaving tales of mythical islands and cursed voyages. I transcended the boundaries of my previously rational world. I became obsessed. Maps marked with uncharted territories and oceans that whispered cryptic revelations became the ominous companions of my every thought. Eventually I had to see, so I loaded up my scuba gear and headed out to check to locations recorded on the log. Most of the spots were close to little sand islands that were resting on top of jagged reefs that would easily rip a hole in the side of a small boat's hull, especially if you were a smuggler that had all the lights off to avoid notice. The last location had debris floating on a small sandbank, and a diving mask caught in seaweed and branches on the small embankment. I dove in the deep water past the reef and had a glimpse of something further down, so I descended trying to keep my excitement at bay. I looked over and saw a young boy wearing only a swimsuit and holding a huge rock to free dive, which was quite common but very dangerous. I did not see any boat by the sand. Where did he come from? He was going to burst his lungs at this depth. Stupid kid. He could have whatever was down there. I tried to get to him as he descended so I could give him some air and help him, but he kept waving for me to follow him down. My equipment began to malfunction, no oxygen. Completely panicked, I pulled the emergency switch and the tank filled up the flotation devices, rushing me too quickly to the surface. The change in pressure gave me the bends. I was able to climb on board, and after several hours lying on the deck in agony, I was able to drive the boat and head home. All I could think about was the urban legend every diver knows, about Kaliki. The story goes that he was a young boy diving to try and get treasure from a wreck, and he drowned, and his spirit tries to get divers to go beyond safe depths and join him. I know that is crazy, and of course I was just terrified by a near-death experience. Ridiculous story. However, when I was back at the marina, I erased the trip from my navigation and threw that log in a trash can. I just teach the clients and drive the boat now. My desire to explore the deep blue sea is gone. I always prided myself on the eclectic mix of artifacts that adorned the walls and shelves of my small coffee shop, brewed in history. As a history buff, every piece, from the vintage typewriters to the aged maps, told a story of a time long past. That's why, when the old Art Deco building on Ocean Drive, a beautiful relic of the Roaring '20s, was slated for demolition, I couldn't resist the urge to preserve a piece of it. I knew the exact piece I wanted. There was a gargoyle that was protruding from a foot-long piece of wall that was still intact amongst the rubble. I went back after the demolition crew finished up, feeling more excited. The night was an eerie mix of silence and the distant echoes of waves when I took a loose, intricate piece of the ornate facade. The gargoyle had a haunting beauty. A mix of geometric and floral designs, was a testament to an era of exuberance and elegance. There was no greed in my heart, no thought of financial gain. I was a silent guardian of history, nothing more. Yet from the moment the piece took its esteemed place on my shelf of collectibles, I started having horrible nightmares, worse every night. My world plunged into unending nights of vivid, terrifying visions. Shadowed figures, distorted and grotesque, lurked in the remnants of parties long since silenced. Haunting melodies of jazz, beautiful yet foreboding, echoed in the corridors of my dreams. They seemed like a journey into the Art Deco building's past, revealing its well-guarded secrets. I was a prisoner, a spectator, forced to watch the unfolding of tragedies, illicit affairs, and mysteries that were buried within the paint and plaster. I'd given my subconscious too much ammunition for bad dreams. At least I tried to convince myself that was the case. Days turned into exhaustive research, poring over Miami's historical records, newspapers, and diaries. Every vision, a gruesome rehearsal of actual events that once rattled the pristine walls of the Art Deco gem. The mystery was as intoxicating as it was terrifying. Was I a recipient of spectral revelations, or was my obsessive knowledge of history manifesting into grotesque theater of the night? I found no peace, no solace until one stormy night, driven by an act of desperation, I threw my rational mind out and decided the gargoyle was somehow causing these nightmares. Yes, I do know how crazy that sounds. Still, I returned it to the mountain of rubble and apologized. I figured it's just like praying. What do you have to lose? Lightning illuminated the silhouette of the remaining structure, casting eerie shadows that danced to the melancholic wails of the wind. As the skies wept, washing away the sins of theft and intrusion, silence and serenity returned to my tormented nights. Was it the act of restitution or the mere exhaustion of a mind burdened with an overload of historical secrets? I will never know. Time to find a new hobby, because it didn't matter if it was psychological or supernatural. There was no way I was going to involve myself with any more historical collecting of any kind.